Hey, this is Bill DeWeese here with a quick tip for people who are using the Shimano Curado DC or perhaps other Shimano reels. I have two DCs and I use them in salt water. And so these are technically, I think, a bass reel, but most reels can be used in salt and fresh water if they're high quality and they use the right components. But there is something here that I've seen in this. This reel is about 6 months to 7 months old. The other reel I have is just over a year old. And I had a problem the other day. It's time for cleaning anyway, but I had a problem the other day with pressing the spool release button. Was very resistant to go down and wouldn't click all the way. And what I noticed upon cleaning the reel is there's, I think, kind of a fatal flaw, if you will, here to be careful for with this around salt water, and that is galvanic corrosion because of dissimilar metals. So this is the bridge that comes up when you press the spool release, and what you'll notice here is there's a brass pinion, and then there is this flat surface here, which is the base. These are two different metals. So this is the pin fathom, and I think in the pin fathom, these are all brass or stainless. Here we have two dissimilar metals, and I think that presents a need to clean this reel more often and focus specifically on this. In my other reel, this was highly corroded in terms of the buildup of the green corrosion, and the caked corrosion had started. So I took these parts and soaked them in vinegar and put them together with a coating of real grease as opposed to just simple oil. So if you're using the Colorado DC, it's a beautiful reel, highly sophisticated, very good for finesse, very good for light baits, very good for light baits on a windy day, things like that. So it's an excellent reel, but this is something to keep a close eye on. I would say every couple of months, 3 months, to take this down and take a look at this and ensure that these parts here are not. You'll see it on the underside. You can pull this gear out and the drag system, and you can see from the other side. You can also lift these two springs off and lift this whole plastic bridge piece out easily enough, and then this will the pinion will come out, and you can see the pinion and the other base metal. Unfortunately, it would be better, I believe, if both of these were brass or both of these were some other material. In this case, I think they're brass, and it would be better if this part were brass. But because there's a dissimilar metal around salt water, if salt water gets into this reel from leakage from the spool, or a splash, or even worse yet, a dunk, you would have a potential for corrosion to build up. That other reel had that in about a year, and it was never dunked, so it's just ordinary use, getting splashed perhaps, but leakage from wet line and other things coming to the spool. So be careful for these two because they're specifically dissimilar metals, and dissimilar metals around salt water are going to give you grief for corrosion. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I would say at minimum 6 months, but 4 months, 3 months. Take this out. Take this. There's 3 screws here that hold this together, and this comes off. It is not under pressure, so there's not like springs go flying everywhere. But when you get to it, you can actually lift these 2 springs out, lift this plastic piece up, and you can pull this pinion out, and you can examine whether or not there's any corrosion. And in my case, I just soaked the other one in. I should have taken a picture of it, but it was kind of starting to cake, and I soaked that in vinegar and gave it a little bit of a brush with a gentle brush. So you can see a little bit of green showing up here. So the salt water does get in here. Eventually it will. So keep a close eye on that. Use some barkeeper's friend on things like this. That's what I'll do here tonight. But I want you to focus on this one junction right here where 2 dissimilar metals are together around salt water. That's an area to focus on. Hope this helps.